Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and we're back on. And we have, again, as before on the show, we're talking about walking. Now we're going to talk more about health, nutrition, and what to do when you're struck with quite a debilitating illness or condition. And so we have Rukia with us, who earlier talked to us about
let's remind
walking.
everyone that whatever we're saying
Yes.
on the show, it's not a medical advice. Please consult your medical
Healthcare
provider for more information. We're just talking to people what they've tried. Nothing for sure.
Disclaimer out.
That's our disclaimer.
That's it. We have said that. So, Rukia, tell us a bit more about you. Then, what happened to you?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, basically my whole journey through the health and well-being, the stuff that I do at the moment, started because I got ill. So I started to have symptoms for a condition called fibromyalgia back in 2014.
Which is also called ME, isn't it?
It's similar to ME. It's not the same. So if you think of ME, which is basically chronic fatigue, and MS, which is a debilitating condition that affects your muscles and joints, and you stick those two conditions together, you've got fibromyalgia.
Wow,
so it's basically like a combination of the symptoms for both of those.
Tell us how
Yeah.
the symptoms
So fibromyalgia basically causes chronic fatigue. So like the people with ME have. Chronic fatigue isn't just normal tiredness. It's an extreme level of exhaustion that you can't just get over by having a nap or having a good sleep. That's not gonna help. So you have quite often people with fibromyalgia have trouble getting to sleep because they're so uncomfortable. So a broken sleep, even if you manage to get a few hours, you wake up feeling unrefreshed. So that's the fatigue side of things. It also causes chronic pain and stiffness in your muscles and joints, and it's a very difficult condition to diagnose, hence why it took 2 years. There is a fibromyalgia support group. There are support groups nationally. I'm part of the South Manchester Fibromyalgia support group. Some of my group will be listening today as well because I've told them about the show. So basically, the fatigue is one element. The pain is something quite different because it stops you from doing all the things that you used to be able to do. So the pain can range from a dull ache to being so painful that you can't get out of bed.
So where do you feel the pain? Is it more in your muscles, in your joints?
Everywhere. This is the thing, you get pain everywhere. It's like, so if anybody's had flu before, really bad flu, or recently COVID.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who have had bad COVID symptoms and have suffered with long COVID, when I've listened to the type of symptoms they're talking about, it's basically like fibromyalgia. Apart from we don't have the breathing difficulties, unless you've already got asthma, that's completely separate though. So the body aches, where your whole body feels as if it's weighed down. It's like your arms and legs feel like they're made of lead. When you're walking, as I was saying earlier, I used to run. I can't run anymore because I'll run out of energy within a minute. And it's almost like somebody's taken the plug out. When somebody's taken the plug out of the bath and all the water starts to drain away, that's how it feels. Your energy just drains away into the plug hole and you can't get it back once you've taken that plug out. So you need to stop and rest. So my legs will just stop working. So hence why I've been walking instead, because at least, thank God, I can still walk. There are many people who have to use walking sticks or mobility scooters, and I just thank God that I'm not at that stage yet. It might be that in the future I might have to use those kind of aids, but at the moment, I have to, it's every cloud has a silver lining. You've got to look at the positives, and I have to just hang on to that positive that at least I can still walk.
So, Rukia, without going into personal details and everything, but can you pinpoint? Can you know what caused it? Do we know?
This is the problem that it's so difficult to diagnose. It's thought that trauma can trigger fibromyalgia, so it can be an emotional trauma or traumas. So for me, it was a series. I'm not going to go into details, but it was a series of traumatic life events over a period of 4 years. It was one thing after another.
So there is basically an external element.
So
that
for me,
affected
it was emotional traumas. For some people, it can be physical trauma. So if they've been in a really bad car accident, for example, it could be a viral infection. So if they've had a severe viral infection, it's a trauma. It's a trauma to your body, isn't it? So trauma can trigger fibromyalgia. So it starts off as a neurological condition, but it manifests itself physically as well. So I was talking earlier about mental health as well. The link between physical health and mental health, as I'm sure you're aware, is so intertwined. It's like chicken and egg, which started first, because once it gets going, I can't separate the two. So the trauma triggered, when you've had too much trauma, it's like stress. A little bit of stress can be good for you, get you through, say, an exam or a race or whatever you need to do. So, having those nerves, a little bit of stress gives you that little bit of adrenaline rush and the cortisol in a good way to get you through a difficult situation. But if you've had too many stressful situations, one after another, your body can become flooded with the stress
when you got
hormones.
the diagnosis, did they give you any nutritional guidelines? No.
That part I researched myself. So this is the sad part, that there's no cure for fibromyalgia. So the only thing that the doctors can offer is basically a range of painkillers, sleeping tablets, and antidepressants. Literally, that's it. By different names, or some medications that do all three. And I chose not to go down the medication route, but because when I met other people with fibromyalgia and I asked them, I took medication home and I read the leaflet, and the side effects was as long as, it went all the way down to the floor. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do that. And I spoke to other people who have the same condition, and I asked them, well, did you try this medication? How did it affect you? And some people say, yeah, it helps you sleep, but it turns you into a zombie, or different reactions. I met a lady in the support group who had gone through every single painkiller, because basically you get used to a painkiller.
Of course.
So I started off with paracetamol and ibuprofen because I didn't know what I had. Now paracetamol doesn't work on me because my body's got so used to it. It's like eating Smarties. It doesn't work. Ibuprofen does, but I was taking it for such a long period of time. That's bad for your organs.
Very.
It can be bad for you're not
For your
supposed to
liver.
for your liver. You're not supposed to be taking it for a long period. I was talking months.
No.
You shouldn't be taking it for months or years.
Not even weeks.
So talking to other people who'd been through medication and then that doesn't work anymore, so they go to a higher dose of something else. Then that stops working, and then you go to something higher and something higher. And there's one lady I'd met who had gone as far as morphine patches, which is the highest medication that you can legally get, and that stopped working. Her body got used to it. Then the GP referred her to the pain clinic to look at non-medication alternatives. Now, my head, I thought, well, that's the wrong order. You should do the other way around. So that was a personal choice that I made. I did an awful lot of research. What the nutrition side, in my head, that was the first thing I thought of. What do I need to be eating? What am I lacking in?
What I noticed in the medical community, they sort of like, they'll tell you, oh, there's no connection with how you eat and what you eat and your physical self. It's like saying that the gas you put in the car has nothing to do with how the car runs. How I think that there's a connection there.
There's absolutely
when it comes to
a
your
connection.
Body, they say there's no connection. How can you say that? So why are we eating that?
I think nowadays it is more accepted. Of course there's a connection. It's just logical, isn't it? Of course there's a connection. But I think for medics, and I'm not a medic, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not, and the NHS have done a fantastic job. I'm not speaking ill of anybody, but they are limited to prescribing you pharmaceutical medications.
Well,
that's all they can
No,
give
and it is known, and that's something that every doctor will agree, is that they get a day, I think, in the whole of their 6 years of medical degree, that they get
I don't think it's even a day.
Even 6
it's
hours.
not even a day.
Like a few hours on a course
on nutrition.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Even other people, they're so desperate, they try
the
different things, and they try the nutrition side. And fibromyalgia is a type of inflammation, and inflammation.
It presents itself as an inflammation, but the inflammation is invisible. So in some conditions like arthritis, if you have a scan or an X-ray, they'll be able to see the inflammation. With fibromyalgia, they can't see anything. It doesn't come up on blood tests. It doesn't come up on scans.
MS as well. You can see it. You see the damage onto the in the brain. But yeah, fibromyalgia means pain in the fibers.
Yes.
Because
fibrous as in the muscles, the
fibers.
Tissues.
Yeah.
But
tissues,
if it presents like with then there is something there.
To me, that was a logical connect. But I have a maths and a science background. I'm a maths teacher, and I have science is my second subject. So for me, that was a logical connection. That you've got to look at the neurological side. I was lucky enough to be able to get some counselling at the time because I'd been through some trauma, so I needed counselling, and that I would advise to anybody. The talking therapies work.
Everything helps.
Yes, everything helps. The nutrition side, I researched.
Is that because you were already sensitive to what you were eating before, or was it just
no, not at all? It was just for me. It was just an obvious link that I needed to look at the nutrition.
Neurology is if you go further, it's the cells. It's the cells, the neurons, and they're made from what you eat. The neurons are made from the fats you eat, from the proteins you eat. So how can it not?
How can it not have a link? Absolutely.
The neurons are the ones that give the electric signals to each other to feel pain when you get hurt or something. But if they have a problem, and they never talk to us about the quality of your cells, then. So what did you try it?
Yeah. Well, so what did you find out when you did your research?
So I did my research, and I was looking into. I went back to the GP, and basically I got sick note after sick note after sick note. I missed in total 6.5 months of work, 3 phase returns, and because I didn't know what was wrong with me, the doctors didn't know what was wrong with me, I kept trying to fight it. And like you have a really bad cough or a cold or flu, you take your paracetamol, your ibuprofen, and you just get back in there. And I kept trying to do what I'd always done, fight it and go back. I couldn't do it. I physically couldn't do it. Just getting through a school day was like running a marathon. Literally, it felt like I was running a marathon every single day. That was the level of exhaustion. And I just couldn't. I went from full-time down to 4 days a week, then 3 days a week. I tried every model of part-time you can imagine. I tried working mornings only, having the afternoon off. I tried doing full days and having 2 full days off. And then even 3 days was too much for me. And I thought, I can't go back and ask for 2 days. I handed in my resignation before I got my diagnosis. But that's, so you have to accept sometimes things happen for a reason, and I have to just, I believe in God, I believe in Allah, I believe that this was Allah's plan, that there was something else better for me. I was working like a crazy person. It's like being a hamster on a treadmill. Just work, eat, sleep. And I thought I could carry on doing that till I retire. But no, God had a different plan for me. So, I have to justify it like that in my head.
Of course.
That this was God's way of taking me out of that situation because it was too much. And so my mental health suffered for quite a while, and all of the things that I've looked into were to help my physical and mental health improve. So the nutrition side, I went back to the GP and asked for blood tests. This was 7 months into after my symptoms started. When my symptoms started, they were quite sudden. I thought I'd had a stroke. It was, so you were talking about the neurons, Angela. So what I felt the first day, and it happened overnight for me. For some people it's a gradual, but for me it was very sudden. My brain stopped working, basically, is the best way I can describe it. I had slurred speech. My brain wasn't connecting with my body. My motor skills weren't working properly. I couldn't walk in a straight line. I looked as if I was drunk. I couldn't walk in a straight line. My brain was telling, I knew what I wanted to say, but my tongue wouldn't move fast enough to say what I had in my head, if you know what I mean. So hence it came out as slurred speech. I remember trying to peel a carrot, and it was like I was watching myself in slow motion.
Right.
Everything had slowed down. Nothing was working because I used to do everything really fast. I talk fast now because I've made an improvement, but I did everything fast. I was like Speedy Gonzales, just whizzing around. I have family. I was working full time. We're carers for my father-in-law as well. So I was juggling an awful lot of things at the same time. And basically this put a stop to that. It was like I explained before, it's like somebody's pulled the plug out. My brain wasn't working properly, so I knew it felt like I'd blown a fuse, you know, like when your kettle or toaster blows a fuse and it stops working. That's how it felt. That's how it felt. And that's why I thought I'd had a stroke. So I went to the doctor, said I think I might have had a stroke, and said, if you had a stroke, you'd only be affected on one side of your body, but you're affected on both sides. You've had a severe, I'd been through a series of bereavements, so the doctor said, you've had a severe bereavement reaction. Stop being so hard on yourself, go home and rest. That was it.
That's it.
7 months later, after several sick notes for work, I went back and asked for blood tests. And out of all the blood tests, the only thing that came up was vitamin D deficiency. My vitamin D level was 0. It got that low. It was 0, and I was low in iron. So I thought, okay, fantastic. I have a solution. Right, so give me the high dose vitamin D, give me the iron, and I thought, right, I'll be okay in a few weeks, maybe months. Well, no. Yes, it made a slight improvement, but I was never back to normal, back to my normal anyway. I still take vitamin D, even today, and we're talking 7.5 years later. 7.5 years I've had this condition. I still take vitamin D. I'm very careful in terms of making sure I've got the because I read up on nutrition, and basically having a chronic illness can deplete your vitamins, and it's not just the vitamin D, it's all your vitamins. So I looked up fatigue. I need more vitamin C then, don't I? So a friend who I'd not spoken to for a very long time rang out of the blue, just like you do. Again, it's fate. She'd moved down south. I hadn't seen her for absolutely ages, and she didn't even know that I'd been ill. And so I told her, I'm not in a good way at the moment. And when I described my symptoms, she said, oh, that sounds like what I've got. I said, what have you got? Fibromyalgia. I was like, never heard of it. I hadn't had a diagnosis yet. So she tells me about aloe vera. She's been drinking aloe vera and it's made a massive difference. Oh, wow. She actually used the words, it's changed my life. It's given me my life back. That was what she said. It's given me my life back. So I said, right, send me some information. I'll read it and then I'll let you know what I think. So she emailed me some information. I did some personal research as well. I Googled it. Google became my best friend. I Googled it and I was absolutely gobsmacked at the long list of health benefits. So it's packed full of vitamins. So Angela, you'll like this bit. It's got vitamins A, C, E, all the B vitamins, B1, 2, 3, 6 and 12. The 6 and 12 gives you the energy. The vitamin C you need for your energy and your immune system, because when you get an illness, your immune system can take a real beating. So I needed to boost that up. So I started getting autoimmune problems like eczema. I'd never had eczema before in my life. But all of a sudden I was getting this horrendous form of eczema and I looked like a giraffe. It was that bad. It came on very suddenly. And again, the doctors didn't know. I saw 7 different doctors who looked at my skin and said, oh, I don't know. Because it was a weird form of eczema. It wasn't like a normal kind of eczema. I had to have a biopsy. My skin was taken off for testing and it came back as eczema. And I was like, what? That's it? After all that? It was just eczema? So, and I found that when my stress levels, because I was going through a huge amount of stress at the time, when my stress levels are high or I'm very upset, I get eczema patches. But at that time it was so bad, my palms and my hands were covered in eczema. I had it on my face, my eyelids. I had to wear gloves to do any cooking or washing up. It was really, really bad. Wow. So what had happened is my body was in crisis.
Yeah, it sounded like your body was completely in overdrive, basically.
Complete overdrive. My body started to attack itself. That's autoimmune. So all of this was going on, and I thought, right, I've got nothing to lose. So I started drinking the aloe vera. Within a couple of weeks, my skin started to clear. I used to have very oily, acne-prone skin. Even, as a later adult, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but as a later adult, when, I wasn't in my teens or 20s anymore, I was still getting acne.
Adult acne.
Yeah, adult acne. And my son noticed. He was the first one to notice. He said, oh, Mum, your skin looks a lot better. I was like, oh, really? That wasn't why I was taking it. I was taking it for the fatigue.
Like that was a sort of...
Yeah, my husband noticed. And it's not, it's not, no offence to men, but it's not the norm for the men in the family to notice those things. So I thought, oh, right, okay, it must be the aloe vera. It took about 2.5 months before I noticed I didn't need the painkillers anymore. And that I wasn't expecting that. So I looked it up. It turns out aloe vera is also a natural anti-inflammatory. So I didn't need the ibuprofen anymore. That was the best part for me. I can't guarantee it's going to work for everybody in the same way because it's an adaptogen. It'll adapt to your body's needs. So different people find different benefits from it. But basically that's been my go-to. So that is my medication. It's a natural product, but it's not on the NHS. I have to buy it myself. But it works for me.
So this is interesting because we had recently we had a show about the gut, didn't we, Angela?
Yes.
And the fact that aloe vera, whatever you've chosen to use, is basically the nutrition. It's and you say obviously it might not work for everyone because it depends as well how efficient your gut is. So to have extra probiotic, prebiotic, and I guess that's what it helps as well.
So the aloe vera is a prebiotic.
Exactly. So that means it feeds the bacteria, just for anyone listening.
But then you need probiotic as well to introduce good bacteria into your gut. So I now, 7.5 years down the line, I now coach people on health and well-being, believe it or not, and I coach people on nutrition and weight management, as well as this. Obviously, there's the skincare and everything as well, but that's my go-to because that was the thing that attracted me to it, brought me into it, and I started my own business in health and well-being. So basically the aloe vera will clean your digestive system, so it has so many benefits. It'll clean your gut. So I was benefiting from all of the factors, but the reason I took it in the first place was for the fatigue. It was just the fatigue was horrendous. I couldn't do anything. I struggled to even lift my head off the pillow at the beginning. So that first few months, the first 2 years, was the worst time. I call it the wilderness years. I was in a really dark place.
And it helped your moods.
But then it because it's a tonic, basically it's a health tonic. Yes, it can lift your mood. Then I started looking. I googled and I looked at what else can help with. I've gone from anxiety to depression. Basically, what can help with depression? So dark chocolate, bananas, mindfulness, yoga, everything I read, yoga kept coming up on all of the different literature that I read. So I thought I'd done some yoga classes years ago, but not seriously, not as regularly as I do now. And I thought, right, I need to get back to it. But at that time I wasn't ready to go out to a class again because I was so ill, and I didn't really want to be with other people. I wasn't confident enough to do that. So I was using my video back in the days when we had videos, my videos and DVDs, and online. There's a lot of stuff online, so I was looking at YouTube videos just to get myself back into it. Now, to cut a long story short, I got so good at the yoga that I became a yoga instructor. I laugh because it sounds ridiculous. I went from being at such a low point to then later on becoming a yoga instructor.
But that's how things change.
Exactly.
Right? You went from.
I looked at what do I need to do to make myself feel better, and I looked at other. And again, the link was the mental health. I was looking at the mental health as well. So going out, being in the open, in nature. We were talking about walking earlier. So being near trees and stuff. You were talking about greenery. It's not just the green. There's a chemical reaction that happens when you're near plants and trees. It's called, I don't know if you heard of tree bathing, forest bathing. Yeah. It's a Japanese skill, forest bathing. So there's a connection, there's an exchange of chemicals. So we get the oxygen from the trees and we're giving them the carbon dioxide. It's a really nice little two-way plan we have.
We don't realise how much our bodies are affected by what we touch, and recently we found
our
out
surroundings
that hugging someone affects your gut. So choose who you hug. So hugging a tree, you get all of those things affecting your your gut. And as we know from the gut is really, it's a brain. It's the central
the second brain
for your immunity.
Yeah, so I did all of that. So the yoga, it just went from one thing to another. I became a yoga instructor. I have a class every Tuesday. I remember my main job is as a maths teacher, so I'm still teaching, but I only teach one-to-one now. I don't do whole class teaching because it's too exhausting. I can't be stood on my feet all day like I used to. So with one-to-one, you get to sit down and you only got one child at a time.
And you don't have all the red tape to deal with.
You don't have all the exactly all the endless the hours and hours and hours I spent marking And it's like washing up. It never finishes. You finish one set of marking, you get onto another. By the time you've marked the work from all of your classes, you've got to go back.
Do, teaching, because it's similar to how
it's similar to washing up. It's similar to washing up. Yes.
Keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you have to keep doing it.
And then you have to go back and start all over again because it's piled up again.
But also, I mean, now you are helping people get healthier, but at the time you were helping the younger generation to get knowledge. But there's always that idea.
But I'm still able to do that.
Exactly.
So in terms of my mental health, I know I can still give that benefit, but I'm giving it to less students, but I'm giving a higher quality because they're getting 100% of my attention.
Definitely.
They're not sharing my attention with another 29 students.
We had a show, a couple of shows ago was about how to support your child through their education, either homeschooling or tutoring or
it was
when
the
they're at
last
school.
week's
last
show.
week. So definitely we had a look at that quite in detail. So
So the yoga class, I was going back. So I do my main work is still teaching, and I do private tuition as well. And then of course I've got my health and wellbeing business, which is just a side thing. I dip into that when I have time. And then the yoga is once a week, so that's at the Old Trafford Wellbeing Centre every Tuesday. So people can look up on their website, and they'd have to book in though. It's a very popular class. So
what's the website? Do you know? We can try
if you just Google Old Trafford Wellbeing Centre, you'll find it.
All right, okay, we'll give that at the end of the show then.
Yes. But people do have to book in because I'm oversubscribed. Alhamdulillah, it's such a popular class.
I know.
So obviously you're restricted by the size of the room, but I usually have more people wanting to book in that I can fit. There's only so many mats you can fit in the room, and I'm squishing them in like sardines. So we've gone from one extreme to the other where 6 people only with 2 meters distances. And I took a tape measure in and measured out the 2 meter distances between the mats, to now practically being acting like sardines because there's so many people want to come, and I have to do a reserve list. So it's gone from I've gone from one extreme to the other.
Teaching Pilates and Taekwondo.
Yes,
very, very, very popular.
It's very popular. Walking group, as I mentioned earlier, it's gone from strength to strength, and it's word of mouth. People tell their friends, "Oh, I've joined this group and it's really nice." And then also there's the Manchester Women's Network groups, the social networking groups. So again, the social connection. So if you look up what you can do to improve your mental health, making relationships and connections and joining groups is one of the things. So again, I joined several groups. Once I built up my confidence to get back out of the house again, I joined groups which helped me, and then ended up leading some of them. So the Manchester Women's Network group, we're a social networking group. We organise a meal out once a month. With the yoga group, I organise events for them. So I'm not just teaching yoga. We've had Eid parties, we've had Christmas meal, we've been out to the
Which area of
theatre.
Manchester are you guys based?
That's a Trafford group. I live in Didsbury, but it's a Trafford group. Old Trafford Wellbeing Centre. So we've got canal boat trips, 2 canal boat trips, and again, I think Anna was saying how her kayaking, the paddling got booked up very, very quickly. The boat trip I put on our WhatsApp group within 24 hours, 2 trips, one in July, one in August, fully booked up, and I've got a reserve list within 24 hours. So it's very, very popular. So yes, by all means, do contact us through the Wellbeing Centre.
Wellbeing Centre.
The Old Trafford Wellbeing Centre.
Wellbeing Centre.
Trafford has an abundance of wellbeing centres. There are 4 wellbeing centres in Trafford. So you've got Coppice Library in Sale. There's also a wellbeing centre. There's the Broomwood Centre in Timperley, and there's a centre in Partington as well. I live in Manchester, and what I found was I was struggling to find facilities that I could use during the daytime in Manchester. So that's why I ended up filtering into Trafford and used their facilities, and then ended up becoming part of it as well. And I teach in Trafford as well.
But I love hearing your story, because again, this show is really all about encouraging women, and to be honest, people in general, because when women know something, they share it straight away. They share it with their friends, with their husbands, with their children, with their mothers, they try and I've discovered this amazing
inspiring
thing.
their kids too, because they're the main ones solving problems, like
teacher.
This is exactly what happened to me. I learned what worked for me, and then I couldn't keep it to myself. I had to share it. And I think what my friends say are called teacher skills, which I can't switch off. So I carry my teacher skills into even my adult groups when I'm organising, because I'm organising adults now, you know, in all these groups and organising trips and etc. And I use the same skills. So basically through those teacher skills, I was able to learn new things quite quickly, well enough to be able to teach others to do the same, and that's coaching. And so that's basically what I've used as my, you know, main point of contact with people, and it is word of mouth. People hear about things and they tell their friends, and then they ask, oh, can my friend be added to this group, to that group, etc.
So you've mentioned quite a few groups, so can you tell us how we can contact you? How can people get in touch and find out about what you do?
So what I'll do is I'll give you the details, and you can put it on the link
on the YouTube,
on the YouTube link perhaps as well. So the Wellbeing Centre, that you can contact via
so if
their
you search
website
on Google Trafford Wellbeing Centre,
yes,
you find a website called Blue
Sky. So all 4 centres are linked with Blue Sky.
And there's Brookwood, Old Trafford, Coppice and Partington.
Yes,
so let's get it again. It's bluesci.org.uk/Old Trafford, if that's where you want to have a look at, and then yes, you can then choose and see what happens there. That's where you have your yoga class.
Yes.
And then
the walking group isn't we're a group of volunteers. It literally started as a bunch of women who wanted to go for a walk together. So they'd have to contact me directly, so I can give you my number if people contact.
So again, you can then
the station.
Email heritageradio.org.uk. And this is how you can ask for
so they have to be details. You know, because it's a direct, because it's not a registered charity. We're not funded. We're not funded.
But some people, they have like their little
it is literally
Instagram
a voluntary group which started quite organically and grew.
And how about your coaching? Then you have any social media people can contact you?
Again, I have a web link which I can pass to you.
Yes, you can say it on the radio to start with if you want.
Obviously, it's quite a long one, so.
All right. Okay, that's fine. We'll just put it on the video and we'll pass on to the radio station if needed. So I love your inspiration, because it's you kind of took on this huge challenge with your health and tried to find solutions, and never really accepted that the solution that you were given that didn't work was going to be the only solution.
Yeah, and of course there are some people who have multiple conditions and they need to take medication. I don't want anyone to feel that, you know.
It's time for a disclaimer.
In terms of the disclaimer.
We are not. None of us are doctors.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing both. But you know, for people who have only ever just used the medical route, there are other options. There are alternative therapies. I found massage helps as well. Heat. Water, so Anna was talking about water, just being near water, hearing the sound of water. So when we go for a walk, and if there's a pond or a lake nearby, and you know, being near a waterfall, for example, that's very soothing. So you're getting the exercise, but you're also getting that the sensation that makes you feel better. It just triggers the feel good hormones, the serotonin.
I would as a nutrition, I would recommend, if somebody with your condition came to strengthen their cells, would be to stop having seed oils, because they're quite inflammatory. And when I see seed oils, I mean anything that's labeled vegetable oils, safflower, sunflower, anything that's in liquid form, and to add ghee when you're cooking, or butter, or coconut oil, anything that's solid in room temperature. They're very they strengthen your cells, because you know our cells renew on average every 6 months, and if our cells don't have a good wall, like cell walls are not, vegetable oil will tend to make your cell walls weak, so then the signals between the cells are not good. And when we're talking about neurons and pain, there's people who are using what we would call saturated fats that have a bad name. They're not bad, they're good for you.
If anyone wants to have more
you can
details
do
about
more-
fats,
Yeah.
have a look at our YouTube.
And do your own research.
Last week's show was about fat, all about fats, and we're going to put that up on YouTube at this.
As
soon.
well, coconut oil is known to increase your white blood cell count. So if you're ill, having coconut oil is good on those points. And we're not talking about like having, if you're worried, oh, it's too much fat. No, like just replace it how you use it instead of using cereals. Cereals are very inflammatory for our cells.
There's another thing as well we haven't mentioned is have you tried fasting? Like
Yes.
intermittent fasting or maybe a day's fast, 24 hour, 36-hour fasting?
So other than obviously fasting during Ramadan, I've done the detox. So I tend to do it once a year, really, a 9-day detox where you really, and it's more of a weight loss thing. So, but it helps the whole system as well. So I found that when I've cut out with that detox, I'm drinking a lot of aloe vera, and I'm basically eating what we call free food. So it's all the salads, vegetables and salads. So basically you're cutting out all carbohydrates, and even the first couple of days you don't even have protein on the first couple of days. So you're flushing your system out, and you drink a load of water. Lots and lots and lots of water,
So
and
what I
aloe
was
vera
talking
and
about
other.
is like the benefits of like more
Intermittent
extreme,
fasting.
Well,
Yes,
more
yeah.
extreme fasts where again we'll have a disclaimer at the end of the show, but a reminder, we are not doctors, so don't do any changes that we mentioned, but we just without checking with your healthcare
And
practitioner.
do some research on
But
everything.
we have there are now many more research showing that long-term fasting, so say there are water fasts, which means that you take 0 calories in, but you drink water or herbal teas with nothing added, and you can do that for 16 hours, for 24 hours, for 36 hours, 48 hours are generally considered fairly safe without anyone monitoring you. If you go beyond 2 days, 3 days, 4, you really need to be monitored by someone who be in a support group that helps you. Some people go as far as 7 days, 10 days, and what it does is that it resets your immune system. It's like pressing the reboot button on your computer.
Well, when you're fasting, after so many hours, your certain hormone, the growth hormone, is turned on, and it's going inside your body and clearing up all the garbage from the cells. And so that's a good thing for our health. And when you're sick,
So again, we're not just taking this at the top of our head. You can look at what
there's a lot of research.
our local hero in England, Dr. Mosley. He's the one who brought fasting as a kind of a thing now in the
Intermittent
UK.
fasting.
Yes, and he also talks about longer fasts. We have mentioned the American doctor, Dr. Mindy Pelz. She does a lot of female health and with fasting and support, and she can also guide you. There's loads of people now, and it's also even mentioned by some doctors now because it's trickling down mainstream.
There's a thing that they say it takes 10 years before research and something is changed, and it coming down to doctors and changing the advice. It takes like 10 years. So some people just go straight to the research. Another good thing to look into is magnesium. I would say to friends, become your best friend. Like, we need magnesium, but obviously not all magnesium is equal. So if you're gonna take it, I would go with magnesium biglycinate, and highly absorbent, and it solves problems you didn't even know you had. So with good fats, magnesium, it helps your health. So it's good that you're already into that.
And as we were talking about earlier, just cleaning your digestive system.
Yes.
So when I first had these symptoms, I remember somebody talking to me about gut health, and I was like, no, my gut's fine. That's not where the pain, because for me that wasn't where the pain was. The pain was everywhere else on the outside, and I didn't understand until I did the research and the reading, and then I realized, and we're
connected. Everything is connected.
Everything's connected.
We're not like, oh, my brain, my heart, everything is connected.
But now I fully understand that the gut is the second brain, and I teach other people this now, that the gut is the second brain, and
this
you
is
need
when
to
we
clean
talk
your
about
gut.
Hippocrates, our friend.
Let our food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. But the most basic is your cells and how they're built, and that's why we need did everybody know that 60% of breast milk is saturated fat? How come the babies are not getting ill from having breast milk? No, it's good for you. It's the kind of saturated fat you're having. So if you're having margarine, yeah, it's saturated fat, but it's trans fat, so it's not good for you. You should wipe it out. And vegetable oils are really bad for you. I don't care if they're labeled organic. You literally should go to the sink and dump it all out and fill your cupboards with coconut oil, ghee, butter, high quality as much as possible, and that's what you use for your cooking.
So what about olive oil?
And olive oil, but the olive oil, do not heat it. Do not heat it.
Yeah.
Use it like, I always forget to mention olive oil, because then if you say liquid, people assume no.
No, olive oil
it's
is
the
really
best
good.
for you, but
Olive
pour
oil is
it
very
over
good
your
for you.
salad, over your
Yeah.
food in its
That's
best
extra
form.
virgin. So extra
Yeah.
virgin you don't cook.
Cold press,
Yeah,
extra
but-
virgin,
but
kept
the
in a
other-
dark bottle.
Normal olive oil you can cook with, but
No,
keep
because
it in a lower
all
temperature.
olive oil, all liquid oils, if you heat them up, then they become toxic. They're not good to use for frying or anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to fry, you could use avocado oil for like pan frying, butter, ghee. Don't be afraid of it, and just do your research, and you'll see there's a lot of research out there now for all these
And
things.
also, I might remind again, listen to our show on fats. Angela goes into great details about all this, how you can cook, or how to replace them, what are the good oils, the bad oils.
The
So-
effect is anything you fry, anything that's in liquid form, it just detoxifies, and it's not.
They have a low smoking point as well.
Yeah. So look for oils
soon
that
as they
are
start
high
heating up.
smoking point. They're the best ones. So we know avocado, even though it's in liquid form, it's high smoking point. Coconut oil. The only thing is, if you want to do deep frying, that's pretty expensive. So you'd have to. For deep frying is not really good for you, anyways. So you just do in smaller quantities, you know. But we're talking about food as medicine, and whatever we eat, your body then uses it to make your new cells of your heart, of your skin, of your neurons, of your hair, of your everything. And if you're in collagen, right? So if we're not giving it good high quality food, and what we're told is not really, because whoever says it's good, if there's a commercial out there saying this is good, it's somebody selling something to you. Most of it is snake oil, whatever they have a commercial. We need to go back to what did our ancestors in our particular communities used to do before things came from factories, right? Everything that's being sold to us, a lot of it is not what, like milk. Nowadays, if you buy the milk from, the shops, it's not the milk that your great parents knew. It's not the same animal, because here they homogenize it, they pasteurize it, because they have to, because of the way the animals are grown in factory,
the food they give
and
the
the food that the cattle eat. So the milk is not the milk that is the milk that is good for you. You know, it's like two different things, everything.
And that again affects your gut.
Everything, yeah.
It doesn't give it the good bacteria. So again, in our gut show, we talked about what you can eat to improve your gut, and we will add to that aloe vera. Definitely,
Yeah.
Something we didn't mention in the show last time, but definitely it's known that aloe vera has a lot of great benefits. So I find all of your journey really, really inspiring, Rukia.
Thank you.
Going from,
I just hope it helps other people on their journey, because it can be very, very upsetting and depressing when you get an illness of any kind. There are many, many chronic illnesses, and if it's a life-changing illness such as fibromyalgia, I had to rebuild my life. You could say
reinvent.
I had to reinvent myself, and it took a while to get to that point. And I would say I kind of, first 5 years, I mourned my old life.
Yeah.
I was still trying to get back to the person I used to be, and I now realise I have to try to let go. It's very difficult to let go, but I have to try and to let go of that person, because that person doesn't exist anymore. I'm the new me now. And I have to then build build on that and try to be a better version. I hope I can try to be a better version.
Well, it looks like you can be beneficial in a sort of much broader sense because of your experience and what you have learned now, which is really relevant to so many people. So inshallah, we do really hope that we are also contributing in a small way to improve them. So again, all of these sort of tips and advice, they're more about for you listeners to explore, to find out, also to open your mind that you're not necessarily stuck in your situation. There are maybe ways you haven't found out about yet that can get you out of your
But when authority tells you this can't be cured, which they say in so many instances, even in diabetes, and when you get the diagnosis and an authority says that this can't be cured, then that affects you mentally, because if you're used to listening to authority, right? Oh, then you, some people, a lot of people, majority of people give up. Or if the doctor said, well, we have to know, and even as Muslims, that every problem has a solution, every disease has its cure. Okay, so just because a doctor didn't find a cure doesn't know the cure doesn't mean it doesn't
that
exist.
it isn't there. Yeah, we just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, or it's there, just it hasn't trickled down to their computer, and you have to go and do the research. Plenty of people have solved their problems, their health problems, by doing what a lot of doctors can't do because they are limited to what advice they can give. And you go and do and research the latest research on the subject, or what other people are doing, and worked for them outside of the box.
Now look, and
then you take responsibility for your health instead of waiting for somebody to tell you do it.
Yeah.
You have to take a chance. You have to experiment, because the only other thing is medicine, and medicine is forever. Right.
And also, you remember in the past, hundreds of years ago, women were burnt at the stake for being witches, just for using herbs. And now, you talking about aloe vera, that's it. You would be on the ones.
There's so many herbal remedies, alternative remedies, and like you were saying, if you look back at what people did hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and the touch, the massage techniques, the touch really helps. And I'd really say to people, do your own research and look at what works for you, and remember, not everybody's going to get the same benefits from the same things. Different people will feel different things, so it's very much trial and error, very, very much trial and error, and finding what works for you. And also, anybody who's got a chronic illness, look up a support group. Because I have to admit, when I first heard about the support group, I thought, I don't know if it's for me. And I thought, well, I'll go along. I rang the person who was organising at the time, and I thought, well, I'll go along and see, and ended up going. It's a monthly meeting that we have. So the South Manchester Fibromyalgia support group exists. There is a website I can pass on to you. But even if you live in a different area, there are different support groups for different illnesses. There are all sorts of support groups going on. So even if you think, no, I can handle it myself, please do look up a support group.
Everybody needs support.
Everybody needs
part
support.
of the mental health aspect.
Yes. And again, it's part of also discovering what other people have tried that you haven't tried yet, that you don't even know exists.
So there are also online different, if you're so remote you don't find a group, there's online. If you have
there are lots of online meetings still going on. Obviously, during the pandemic, everybody had to go. We couldn't have face-to-face meetings, so we eventually did go on to Zoom, having Zoom meetings.
Zoom is really...
Zoom saved our lives for a while, didn't it? I was teaching on Zoom for the first time. I'd never taught online before the pandemic, so I'm still doing some teaching online.
I did Taekwondo online.
Yes.
I still do.
I taught some yoga classes
I
online.
still do. A lot of people, like our instructors, continuing to teach as online as well as in.
I still have Zoom on for my yoga class, so I have the live class, but I'll take my iPad in to do so people can link in from home. However, having said that, the internet connection hasn't been working the last few weeks.
That's not good.
So that's a different story, though. That's a technical issue, but
it's not perfect, of course, but it's such a help. Yeah.
But it's better than nothing. It's better than, because there are some people who can't, for whatever reason, they can't get out of their house for all sorts of reasons.
I would never have thought of taking my Pilates lessons online if I hadn't been forced, and I think most people
Yeah,
have
a lot
felt
of people
that.
were forced during the pandemic, and it's opened up doors for people
Yes.
to think, oh, I don't have to. In fact, more people prefer to stay home because it cuts out the traveling,
Yeah.
changing.
You have clients who don't live in your area. Now they can access
Absolutely.
your
Like my Arabic
your
class, my teacher, because he's been doing it online, he has clients from all over
the world.
the UK. And now if he went back, he closed that class, he'd lose those students. So I think
And you don't have to worry about what you're wearing when you're at home on Zoom as well. I joined a Zumba class, another lady's Zumba class, in my pajamas many times, and she didn't
you
mind.
could do Zumba online because I started going to one.
You can do everything, I
But
think,
if
now.
I'll look for Zumba online. That sounds good to me because then I don't have to worry about all of this.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like,
And also, we were talking about clothing earlier when Anna was here, and you know, sometimes when people join either the walking group or the yoga group, they say, "Oh, what do I wear?" I said, "You wear what you want. As long as you're comfortable. For walking, obviously, make sure you've got some good walking shoes. That's the main thing. Make sure you've got suitable shoes, whether they're walking shoes, trainers, or you can get walking sandals even in the summer. But as long as you've got protective footwear, it doesn't really matter what else you wear, apart from being aware of the weather. Obviously, if it's raining, wear something weatherproof.
I'd argue sometimes take your shoes off as well and walk barefoot. If you find a patch of
That's grounding. That's a different. You need a different program for grounding, don't you?
And I was
Walking on the sand, walking on the grass with bare feet.
Yeah, exactly.
But also for yoga, I remember being asked, "Oh, well, what do I feel self-conscious." Even there was a non-Muslim woman who kept saying she wants to join, she wants to join, she wants to join. And then she eventually admitted to me she was worried about, she didn't want to wear tight clothing. I said, well, I don't wear tight clothing. You just wear something comfortable. As long as you can move, I wouldn't wear, if you're wearing jeans are not suitable because, you're not going to get, if you've got tight clothing, you haven't got the movement. I do not turn up to my yoga class wearing lycra leotard, excuse me. No. So, you wear what you're comfortable in. Loose clothing is actually better. And we take our shoes off anyway. You're going to be in bare feet. So, don't worry about what you have to wear in order as a barrier to taking part in activity. And like we were saying earlier, going swimming is so important. And there's so many available modest swimwear brands out now. There weren't when we were younger.
You're spoiled for choice now. You're spoiled for choice.
Fantastic,
Well, we've had a great
fantastic discussion. I mean, we've been really spoiled today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rukia, for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting
we'll put
me.
all
I've
of
really
your
enjoyed
links
it.
on our under the video next week, inshallah, when we put it up on YouTube. Thanks to my daughter's amazing skills. She's our editor, so I have to mention her today because she's really helping us out a lot. And so inshallah we shall talk to you and be with you again next week in some shape or form, and then the week after. So we have the end of our show here, so I'm just going to remind you very briefly that anything that we said today, especially when talked about fibromyalgia and the treatments, just do speak to your healthcare professional, whatever healthcare professional that is, someone who's a professional who can guide you before you make any drastic changes, and certainly do not stop any medication without being sure that it is safe for you to do so. This is not coming from us. Okay, but do explore alternative. Don't think you're stuck. This is basically the takeout for today.
There's always something you can do to make yourself more comfortable.
Inshallah, we shall love you and leave you all.
Yes.
May Allah bless you, keep you in good health, and remove all your burdens.
Ameen.
And enjoy the beautiful weather, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.